Good morning and welcome to the Saturday, November 21st, 2015 TV Toastmasters meeting. We have a really nice meeting in store today for everyone. We will have our impromptu speaking, we have a prepared speech, we will have our evaluation portion of the meeting where we will hear feedback on how well we've done, as well as things we might want to consider doing better in the future. I will be our Toastmaster as well as the presiding officer today. My name is Stephen Ehrenholtz. I am the Vice President of Membership for Club 9523 TV Toastmasters. I'd like to start our meeting today with our word of the day. Help me introduce our grammarian and counter for our meeting today. She will also be giving us feedback on what kind of verbal crutches we've been using. If there are some things that we tend to do, we may not even be aware of, but she'll point those out. We'll also find out how well she's listening. Help me welcome our Word of the Day presentation from Carol Cormelink. Carol?
Thank you, Mr. President. Fellow Toastmasters, our most welcome guests in the studio and at home. Our word of the day today, and the reason I give you a word of the day is to help increase your vocabulary. And today we have a simple word. It's on your agenda there on the word of the day. And it's a verb, edify. Edify means to build up someone, to instruct and improve someone, and uplift someone. And my sentence to use that is that when you evaluate, you edify the speaker because you build them up, you make them want to get up and speak again. That's the evaluators. As Steve said, I do count the ums, ahs, you know, so's, that's one of my crutches, ands, where you connect a sentence with and instead of period. And I also count lip smacks. That's when you end the sentence and smack your lips. That is my word of the day, edify. The challenge is to use that when you're up here at the lectern, edify. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Carol. I was remiss in my opening for the meeting, too. I didn't welcome two of our guests that we have with us today. We have Treva McDaniel and Elizabeth Kaplan. Welcome to both of you. I look forward to your participation in our meeting as well. Carol mentioned that our word of the day is edify. I was going to use the word edification, which is what we will be doing in the evaluation portion of our meeting today. That's where we will be getting feedback. We'll hear how we all did in today's meeting. The next portion of our meeting that we're going to do is the table topics. This is our impromptu speaking portion of the meeting. The skills that we work on here is our ability to think on our feet. I have some questions that I will ask, and I will call upon someone to respond to it. They'll have the amount of time it takes them to get up here to prepare their response. When we do table topics, what we want to do is listen, think, and then speak. And it's just a mini speech that you do, and you have 1 to 2 minutes, right, for our timer?
1
to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I actually have enough questions today that everyone will be able to participate. Where do you find inspiration? Where do you find inspiration? And I'm going to ask Gwendolyn to come up here and answer that question. Gwendolyn? Where do you find inspiration?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Well, this is good for me to get this great question today, because I'm mostly edified when I open a good book. And I find from reading about other people's lives or people's thoughts and ideas that I am inspired. And I will be able to explore on that later when I give you my icebreaker for the first time. So I find inspiration in many different quotes from old presidents or philosophers, anybody who has come before us, and I think I could be inspired by anybody who has actually overcome any kind of difficulty in life also. I'm often finding that they are able to edify other people from their hardships. They're able to make other people work harder at their own selves to be the best they can be, because they've overcome instead of giving up, and that to me is an inspiration.
Thank you, Carol.
I was so engrossed in your.
I was waiting.
I wondered because I thought, oh, we have to be getting close to a minute. Flash up one of those signals there so Gwendolyn can wind up her speech.
I was so engrossed, I was looking to see, and I'm going, oh, I forgot to press the timer.
I wondered if you, I saw you writing and I thought, okay, I wonder if she's timing at the same
Well,
time.
I was counting, I was doing the grammarian, and so I'll put that you.
Well,
That was at least a minute.
My next question, if we learn from our mistakes, why are we always so afraid to make a mistake? And I'm going to give that question to Carol. If we're so afraid to make, if we learn from our mistakes, why are we so afraid to make a mistake? Carol?
I am not afraid to make mistakes because I know I'm not perfect. So, and I do learn from my mistakes, and I also admit my mistakes. A lot of people, they wouldn't admit it for anything that they made a mistake. But I have to correct. If I've given misinformation to someone, I have to let you know so that you're not passing on wrong information that you got from me, who is a trusted resource for information. And I have learned a lot from my mistakes. I have learned a lot what not to do. When you really mess up on something, then you learn what not to do. Toastmasters taught me not to be so quick to judge. I had a person one time that I was in Sarah Coventry Jewelry, and she had said I didn't earn earrings, and on my pay stub it said I had. I didn't ask her to check her records. I fired off a letter that she was a liar and a cheat, and how dare she try to cheat me out of that when it was on my paycheck. And I'm going, too bad I didn't have Toastmasters before then, because I would have written her and said, our records don't seem to agree. Would you check your records? I would not have used blame and shame. So I have learned quite a bit on how to be kinder, gentler, not so quick to get angry at things, and that's Toastmasters has helped me with that. Mr. Toastmasters. Table topics master.
Thank you, Carol. Our next question that I would like to call someone up to respond to is, in the haste of your daily life, what are you not seeing? In the haste of your daily life, what are you not seeing? Rick?
Thank you, Steve. I am missing a lot because my life seems to go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. I find that I am constantly moving and running, going from one place to the next. As I think about it, the peace in life that I'm missing is an opportunity to savor what I just completed. Because I'm so worried about getting to the next thing, being on time, being prepared, am I supposed to go this way or that way? I'm missing what I just finished, who I just spent time with, what I was just able to accomplish, and to be able to soak in the people, the lessons, the opportunities that presented themselves in that instance, and how I can go better myself in the future because of the time that I spent with those individuals. In addition, there's probably one other piece that I'm missing in that hustle and bustle, and it has to likely do with the fact that I just need more time to be instead of do. As I take that time to just be, it allows me to think back over not only what I've done most recently or what I'm planning to do next, but those major events in my life and the impact that they should have on me. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Rick. I can appreciate that. Sometimes we're so busy being busy, we don't really have time to think or reflect, and that is something that we really do need to do at different times. And to always be looking at completing something and then you're moving on to the next, you don't really appreciate just what you have already accomplished. Moving on, my next question, what lifts your spirits when life gets you down? What lifts your spirits when life gets you down? Treva, I'd like you to come and answer that question for us.
Thank you. Fellow Toastmasters, table topic master, what lifts my spirits? Life lifts my spirits. I am a registered nurse. Daily, I live with life and death situations. Being able to be at the bedside of those that are left behind when there's no one else around to hold that hand and be there as they take their last breath, that lifts my spirits. Seeing the birth of a brand new child lifts my spirits. Seeing my children accomplish and overcome things that they never thought they could do, that lifts my spirits and that inspires me. It edifies me, our word of the day. It edifies me, it lifts me up. And I want also to be that person that lifts up, edifies, and inspires others. That is the reason I got into nursing. I've seen a lot of good nurses. I've seen a lot of bad nurses. When my child was at the brink of dying, I knew what kind of difference I wanted to make. And today, that is why I am in the nursing profession. That is why I'm there when there's no one else there. I've done everything from deliver babies to take organs. I want somebody to say, God used her to touch me. Thank you.
Thank you, Treva. That's really neat. That's a wonderful thing to have in your profession, that you make a difference. My next question that I have is there such a thing as perfect? Is there such a thing as perfect? And I'm going to ask our other guest, Elizabeth, to come and respond to that question.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. It's ironic that I would be asked to answer the question, is there any such thing as perfect? Because when I was little, I was taught that I didn't matter at all. I was taught to not speak unless I was spoken to. And I'm actually writing a book about overcoming adversity. I try in everything I do to be perfect. It's so much pressure. And that's one thing that lately I've been really struggling with a lot. I feel edified by having the opportunity to look at that question and answer it, because I feel like deciding how to answer that question will change my life. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I'm sorry. I wasn't quite ready yet.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
You did enough time.
I know I
Two
find
things at once.
for myself, and I think of myself as a reforming perfectionist, that you spend so much time and energy in things sometimes that it gets to the point it's counterproductive. The perfect becomes the enemy of the good. A lot of times our success is that we do good, and that can encompass a range of how well it's done, rather than investing inordinate amounts of time, energy, and effort to make it perfect. And sometimes, at least from my own experience, we wind up getting in our own way after a while. So thank you, Elizabeth, for that response. That concludes our table topics portion of our meeting. As I had pointed out at the beginning, nobody here had any idea what their question was going to be until I asked it of them. And I had decided ahead of time who would get what questions based on some of our conversation that occurred before we started today's meeting. And Carol, I thought yours was particularly appropriate about making mistakes, since you had your little conversation with the Highway Patrol this morning on your way in here. Now we're going to move on to the portion of our meeting where we have our prepared speeches. And today we're going to have the privilege of hearing an icebreaker speech. An icebreaker speech is the first speech that a Toastmaster gives in the Competent Communications Manual. It's 4 to 6 minutes in length. One of the purposes of the icebreaker speech is to get the Toastmaster up in front of a group of people and just to get used to speaking in front of an audience. The topic can be anything the Toastmaster would like it to be. We generally like it to be about the Toastmaster themselves, some aspect of their life. It's how they introduce themselves to the club. One of the key things here is that the speaker will know more about this subject than anyone else could possibly know. Our icebreaker speaker today is one of our new members, Gwendolyn Neeson, and she is going to be giving us her icebreaker speech, which is entitled Bookstore. Bookstore, Gwendolyn Neeson.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I would like to thank my fellow Toastmasters for having me here today to do my icebreaker. I would like to open it with a quote from Oscar Wilde. You can't not open a book without learning something. It's funny because my table topic today was about inspiration. Dr. Seuss, "Oh, the places you'll go," edifying children. I have a great love for reading. My love for reading only gets stronger and stronger. The more books I read, the more I love to read. Every passing year, I collect more and more books to my library because I cannot seem to get enough. To say I love reading is an understatement. I am impassioned about reading. You can compare my love to reading or going to a bookstore like a child walking into the Willy Wonka chocolate factory. Walks in and they look around and there are so many different flavors and smells that they're excited. They don't know even where to turn. When I walk into a bookstore, I would say that would be how I feel. I walk in and I wonder which direction should I go. And I have to make a decision or else I will leave with my arms full of books and debt. So when I walk into a bookstore, I have to really examine myself and wonder, where am I needing to go today? What am I hungering for today? Am I wanting something with a little meat on it? Am I wanting something sweet or something salty? And I look around and I listen to myself. Is it Shakespeare calling? To thine own self be true. I love quotes. All this reading, I'm constantly quoting different people that have come before us, different writers and philosophers, because I'm so inspired by them. They have edified me through their writing. Did you know, just by William Shakespeare, he wrote about 40 plays. Just amazing. It's fascinating. I not only like to read what they write, I like to read about them. And you learn about other people based on what they write. Sometimes I'm in a mood for some suspense, something intrigue, like a Dan Brown mystery or Stephen King thriller. Many people don't even know Stephen King used to use a pen name, Richard Bachman, until he became famous, and then he wanted to use his real name. When I want something a little more, I might turn to somebody like Maya Angelou, somebody who had a really amazing life, who had incredible struggles as a child, overcame them, and became one of the greatest women to edify other women and minorities in the world. She's an inspiration to me. Sometimes I'm in the mood for something a little lighter, like Emily Post, because I can always use help with my manners and my etiquette. And what woman doesn't like to use or read about Audrey Hepburn and her amazing style. For the wonderful Doris Day, and her life has been also an inspiration to me. And any genre gives me pause for thought, or pause to be held captive, because there's no book that I could pick up and not be interested or intrigued or fascinated by. It could be medicine, the human body, the human mind, science, psychology, gardening, cooking. My favorite are the contemplative philosophers. My favorites are Charles Dickens, Chesterton, Hemingway, when they show us all the broken places in ourselves that lead to real strength. C.S. Lewis books, amazing, for children and adults alike. You could pick up a C.S. Lewis book and be in an entirely different world and leave a better person, knowing yourself better. He made a quote that I love. When the most important things in our life happen, we quite often do not know at the moment what is going on. How true is that? You look back on your life and think, I only would have given a little more time to this. My favorite philosopher of all times is St. Thomas Aquinas. With all his writing, his Summa Theological alone was 3,500 pages. Can you imagine how many books are in the world? The vast amount of them, we would never be able to read them all. The Google Echothorium actually counted 130 million books have been published. Google actually counted how many books. I guess you could say I have a love for reading, which is really a love for learning. Because the more I learn, the more I know. But I do not know very much. It's a humbling experience. But however, Aristotle leads us in the place to begin, where he says, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And in the hopes of protecting myself from being an open book, I'm going to go ahead and close this chapter and say, the end.
Thank you, Gwendolyn.
Mr. Toastmaster.
We'll have a moment of silence at this point for the evaluator to write up his evaluation for Gwendolyn's icebreaker speech, and we'll be right back.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well. There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease,
Freedom
like
requires
breast
leadership,
cancer, there are
and
no
leadership requires
parties.
oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back. We're going to start that portion of our meeting where we will edify the participants in today's meeting. We are going to do the evaluation portion of this meeting. This will include an evaluation of our prepared speech that we heard today. We will also hear from our grammarian and counter about different grammatical faux pas that we have used. We'll hear a timer's report as to how well we stayed within the time constraints that are applied to the different speaking roles. And I'll provide an overview evaluation of our meeting at the end. I would like you to help me welcome our evaluator for today's icebreaker speech, Rick Barron. Rick, would you come up here and give us your evaluation?
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for the opportunity to edify Gwendolyn for her icebreaker speech. Bookstore. When was the last time you were in a bookstore? Today, Gwendolyn had a chance to take us through the bookstore that is her life. And Gwendolyn, I couldn't think of a better topic to help get us to understand who you are. In most cases, people talk about where they were born and where they lived and the kinds of things, the jobs that they've had. We don't really get to learn a lot about them personally. We learn where they've been, where they spent their time. And your topic gave us some true insights into you personally. And that's what I think this whole process is about. It's about helping open you up, expose you a little bit so that we get to learn about you. And that's exactly what you were able to do with your speech today. Hit it right on the head. From the opening of starting with a quote, which is an advanced tool using quotes in your speech, all the way to the ending where you used a quote as well to make the point. Throughout the whole thing, it was obvious that you were comfortable up here. If you were nervous, you hid it very well. You did use your notes, but you only glanced down at them. You weren't like this, like we see a lot of people do when they're doing their icebreaker speeches where they sit there and they just read. Every once in a while, you would just glance down, see where you were, and moved on. Absolutely great use of your notes. Eye contact. You made contact not only with the individuals, but treated the camera itself as an individual. I noticed that. Again, another advanced thing, especially for this club. Vocal variety, I wrote down amazing when you were speaking about C.S. Lewis. Gestures, you had your notes in one hand, but you were using the other hand to make some gestures. And even used pauses effectively throughout your speech when you were talking about how many books are there in the world. You paused, allowed us to think about that for a second. Gee, I wonder how many books there are. And then told us the answer. Again, another advanced technique. It asked me, what could you have done differently to improve the speech? That's why I needed the extra 30 seconds. Because for an icebreaker speech, the only thing I came up with was to ditch the notes. And that's not something that I would suggest that somebody do on their first time up here at the lectern. So I wrote absolutely nothing, give speech number 2. Congratulations on giving us some true insights into who you are and the fact that you are not just a reader, but a learner. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. I'll provide Rick a little bit of feedback on his evaluation as part of my concluding comments on how we conducted today's meeting. Next, we will hear from our grammarian and counter as well as our timer report. I'm going to ask Carol Cormalank to come up here and give us her grammarian report first, and that's where she'll also tell us how well we use the word of the day, edify, and then she'll follow that up with the timer's report. If she wasn't so engrossed in the presentations that she forgot the time.
I was so engrossed in the presentations and counting the words. Being timer and grammarian does not fit for me. I was trying to sum up here, but since I didn't have enough time to sum all this up, I will have to piecemeal it around. Steve, I did have you, I have to add another one here as your general evaluator. I counted the word of the day 2, 4, 7 times. They used the word of the day 7 times. 2 as the presiding officer, 1 during table topics, 1 as Toastmaster, and 3 as the general evaluator. So you did really well. And I used it 3 times when I gave the word of the day. Of course, I was perfect. I didn't find any grammatical errors, nor did I use the word of the day in my table topics. I created the word, I brought the word of the day, I forgot to use it in table topics. So I congratulate Gwendolyn, who used it 2 times in table topics. As a speaker, used it 2 more times, and I thought that was really good that you remembered to do that, because oh, I forget, and she does that. I only heard 1 1 and, 1 so, 4 ums during your table topics. And in your speech, I heard the word of the day twice, and I didn't hear anything else there. Oh, yes, I did hear 2 ums and 2 uhs. And the word that I liked that you used was impatient. I thought it was a good word, that you're impatient about your reading. I did hear 1 so and 1 lip smack. Only one. That was the only lip smack I heard today. As the Rick in his table topics, I didn't hear the word of the day. And I didn't hear anything else. You were perfect. I didn't hear anything in your evaluation. You were perfect. Who was my next? Treva. Sorry I couldn't get all this summarized here because I didn't have enough time. I heard the word of the day twice, at least. I was so busy writing down what you were writing, how you were inspired with your nursing. I was so impressed with that. I forgot to do all the timing. I believe that is all that I can find on here. Oh, yes, where I did here. Where? Elizabeth. I was so engrossed in what you were saying, I didn't hear anything that you said either. So I didn't hear you. I'm quite impressed that I didn't hear any grammatical errors there or ums and alls, killer filler words. The next time I'm remarried, I will not be a timer, and I will do a much better job, Mr. General Evaluator. Oh, and
Do you want to do the timer's report
yes.
while you're up here?
That's why I brought this up here, so I can do that. For the table topics, Gwendolyn, you had a minute. Since I forgot to time it, I figured you probably did at least a minute. I did a minute and 36 seconds. Rick, a minute and 30 seconds. Treva, a minute and 40 seconds. And Elizabeth, a minute and 40 seconds.
Really?
Yes, that was very good.
Oh, I didn't think I was done yet.
Well, that's because I forgot to turn on the light. As Speaker Gwen, your 4 to 6 minute speech was 5 minutes and 15 seconds, was just correct. As Evaluator Rick, you were 3 minutes and 18 seconds. You're allowed 2 to 3 minutes for an evaluation. So everyone stayed within their times today. And I was timing what I do with my timers right here.
Thank you, Carol.
I took too long. Yeah, I had 3 minutes and I took 3 minutes.
I'm always amazed when I hear people talking about, well, I'm a really good multitasker. I find that multitasking is not really what we do. And from studies that I've learned of, looking at multitasking by humans, we really don't multitask. We just break things down into shorter and shorter segments that we're doing something. And unfortunately, what happens is we've got all these fragmented tasks that we're looking at. And I can appreciate Carol's busyness that she feels trying to do 2 different roles, because it can be a challenge. I sometimes think of a quote my father used to say when he was so busy with doing different things and it was very fragmentary. It was like he was as busy as a one-armed wallpaper hanger, which is a pretty good visual image of a challenge a person would have if they only had use of one arm trying to put paper up on a wall. You've got so many things coming at you that it is a challenge. But Carol, I want to commend you on your listening, which you demonstrated to us by the use of the word of the day. Also, if there were any crutches or any other things that we were using in our speaking that detract from our overall message. I want to give Rick a little feedback on his evaluation. Did you notice his use of gestures for opening a book? I thought that was really appropriate for the evaluation and for the topic of your speech, Gwendolyn. He provided feedback on gestures, eye contact, the use of pauses and quotes. I thought that the use of a book and how we learn about it in his evaluation really paralleled your speech very nicely. And I thought, oh, this is really a good analogy for an icebreaker speech. We're kind of perusing this book called Gwendolyn and learning a little bit here and there. So I thought that was a real good evaluation, Rick. I appreciated your feedback. I didn't have any additional things that I wanted to add. We started our meeting pretty much on time. We had a little bit of a delay getting things set up, but we do run into that because the room doesn't open until 10 o'clock, so we can't get here early to get set up. I want to thank everyone for participating in Table Topics, especially our guests. I would encourage you to come back. We love to have guests. I'd also like to offer you an opportunity if you'd like to share with us any of your impressions about today's meeting. You're welcome to come up here and share with us any thoughts you have. If you'd like to pass, that's fine too. One of the things about Toastmasters that's nice is that you at things on your own pace and focus on areas where you feel you need to concentrate in developing your speaking and leadership skills. So it's self-paced. We don't want to get wound up in trying to be perfect. We don't want the perfect to be the enemy of the good. Dreva, if you'd like to come up here, please do.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say thank you. I have enjoyed today. And at this present point in my life, being a new Toastmaster since May, I feel like I'm a sponge. I'm trying to absorb and learn from everyone that is around me. Today, I take valuable information, techniques on evaluation, timing, speaking, stories with me that hopefully I will be able to use in the future to better myself, to be a better communicator.
Thank you. And Gwendolyn, congratulations. You finished your icebreaker. Good job. And you're still standing. You could walk away unassisted. You didn't melt down. So you're doing good.
Yeah, I noticed your good eye contact.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I always look for when I'm evaluating someone, whether they're actually engaging the audience. You'll notice sometimes someone is talking and they're kind of looking over everyone, or they're kind of looking up somewhere and you're thinking, okay, we're down here. So good job. I look forward to hearing your next speech. I don't know, does anyone have anything else they would like to bring up? Would you like to come up here and share some perspectives? Thank you. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I've been to a couple of Toastmasters meetings and spent a little while, and I was invited by Rick to come here. And I'm so glad that I did. All of you are such excellent speakers that I feel like if I stay here, which I plan to, I will improve greatly. So that excites me quite a bit. I was very moved by Gwendolyn's speech and actually everyone's speech because I just felt like I could really relate to you and I felt like I learned a lot and actually grew as a person sitting there. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We look forward to having you come back. Our next meeting for TV Toastmasters will be the first Thursday in December at 6 p.m. at the Anderson branch of the Cincinnati Public Library.
No,
Oh, we're meeting at.
Thursday at the studio.
Oh, okay. That's
Thursday
right.
at the studio.
We're meeting two different places, and my mistake. We're going to be meeting at the Anderson Township Television Studio at the Community Center located at 7850 5 Mile Road in Anderson Township, and we start at 6 p.m. We would welcome anyone who even just wants to check out TV Toastmasters to come and, if nothing else, just observe. That's fine with us too. I'm going to adjourn our Saturday, November 21st meeting of TV Toastmasters. And for those of you who are guests looking in from home, we'd like you to come and check us out at our website, which is www.tvtoastmasters.com. You can also click on a link there that will take you to Facebook, and you can look at any number of our past TV Toastmasters meetings. With that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting of Club 9523 TV Toastmasters for November 21st, 2015.